Hello everyone, Ruby Ravel here, torrid, tumultuous, and registering at least, I don't know, a 12 on the Richter-Ravel scale. Yes, get your seismographs out because Venus conjunct Uranus is here. Conjunctions are always interesting aspects to me because they signify a moment in time at which two planets fuse together to become a titan that is greater than the sum of their parts. It is almost like the planets are engaging in some kind of divine cosmic coitus, and for a brief moment we get to see the imaginary progeny that results from their cataclysmic union. Certain conjunctions are very effortless, for instance, when you have planets combining that have a very similar modus operandus. For instance, Venus works very well when she fuses with Jupiter and Neptune because she wants partnership. She wants to have a relationship with someone or something else, and both Jupiter and Neptune are ultimately concerned with giving us a greater sense of connectivity with the infinity out there that can be translated into a greater infinity within here. But Venus in Taurus conjunct Uranus make for very uneasy bedfellows because, well, what they want from sharing a bed does not necessarily correlate very well with each of their respective values. Venus in Taurus wants a real-world earthly love. If it loves you, then it wants to stroke you, it wants to hug you, it wants to have sex with you, it wants to share meals with you, it wants to move in with you. It wants its expression of feeling and passion for you to be grounded in material, tangible realities that have some kind of sense of stability and preservation to them. It doesn't want you to suddenly disappear ephemerally like Neptune from between its fingers, but to be there tomorrow like you were yesterday. But Uranus is a god of the heavens, of the sky, of the lofty stratospheric realms of the higher dimensional heights of existence. He looks down on the earth. He's not interested in descending to it, because then he would lose that sense of panoramic clarity that he has by residing angelically in the sky. The love of Uranus is a divine love. It's very reasonable, it's very ethical, it's very philosophical, it's very conceptual, but it's also very impersonal. It says, I love you, because love is a noble, virtuous feeling to give and receive from someone else, but the giving and the receiving of it are very intellectual and very based on principles rather than actually any kind of sense of personal intimacy or deep, tangible involvement. So Uranus may love you for the ability that you possess to expand its mind, to be an enlightener, to be a revealer, to be a revelator of distant realms, to be this thing that sets off fireworks in its brain and nervous systems and makes it see more of the brilliant, organized elegance of the expanded cosmos, but that will not necessarily translate into it wanting to reach out and squeeze your tits. And I think in order to get a deeper sense of what this Uranian love can mean, we can compare Uranus for a moment with his sister planet of Neptune and look at their respective symbolic modalities of the difference between the love of the sky and the love of the ocean, because there are immediately some similarities in terms of them both representing these vast, seemingly infinite and very changeable elements, but there are some crucial differences on a very experiential and existential level. For instance, the ocean might be this great seething tumultuous mass, one moment peaceful and serene, the next filled with tsunamis and tidal waves, shipwrecks and Leviathan. But even though it's so big and so consuming and devouring and impersonal, it's also very personal in terms of the fact that we can go to the beach, we can go to the ocean, and we can allow it to envelop us. We can feel the waters of that emotion, and yet we can't see through those waters or get a clear sense of what is within them, often even when we've actually dived or been pulled into them. And that's not unlike our deep emotional entanglements with someone else, where the boundaries between our love for someone else and their love for us and our feelings become intense and unclear. It is possible to be completely devoured by the oceanic intensity of one's feelings, but without having any clear understanding about them or any rational consensus as to where they're coming from, or what they actually mean on some kind of comprehensible level. Whereas with the sky, it's completely the opposite. Yes, it's this vast, infinite thing, always overhead of us. Sometimes it is pristine and blue and filled with glowing acres of sunshine or fields of sparkling stars. At other times it is riotous with black clouds of terror and destruction and lit up with unusual weird portents from heaven, or UFOs and other bizarre astral phenomena that we don't clearly comprehend. And yet there is a clarity, an expansive clarity of vision we get when we're looking at the sky. We can look back and suddenly so many things can be revealed to us. We really do have this sense of pulling back the lens and seeing the bigger picture of just how much there is going on in the cosmos. And even though we have that clarity that we don't get with Neptune, we can't really have a personal relationship with the sky on such an immediate bodily level because we can't touch it. It's always beyond our reach. Like the star in the tarot cards, it's the thing beyond us that is meant to fill us with wonder, with a sense of portentousness, with a visionary ecstasy that pulls us out of the smallness of ourselves. But we can't hug that star. We can't pull it to our flesh and give it a kiss. We can imagine it, we can have visions about it, but we can't actually do it. And this is why Uranian love is usually expressed best in platonic love, in a love of friends, or in a love of the larger groups or communities to which one belongs. You know, maybe the kind of big, vast, impersonal love that someone like me might feel for the rest of the LGBT or trans community, or with, you know, my fellow musicians or other people who are engaged in similar vast overarching causes to which I am aligned. But because it likes that big, expansive, all-encompassing scope that says I am here to love and accept and tolerate and include all of humanity, to scrunch that in and to have a one-to-one, close, touchy-feely, emotional, confusing relationship with someone else is exactly what Uranus does not want, because then suddenly all of that big, vast openness of the sky is lost to it. It's almost like it's been lying on its back, filled with a sense of wonder at all of the sparkling constellations ahead and meteor showers. And then someone comes and stands over it and says, "Look at me, love me, let me be the sole object of your affection." And Uranus says, "Get out of the way! You're ruining my view of the divine love that I'm cultivating with your low, your mundane, earthly love that's so selfish, so bestial, so consumed by all these tawdry animal instincts, which we should have the intellectual capacity to rise above. You know, get your consciousness out of your crotch, out of your nipples, you know." Oh, honey, we all need to get our consciousness into our nipples as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, he says, pull it away from your body, that love of the body, that earthly love. It's gross. It's removed from the light of God. You know, we need to We need to be up there loving one another like the cherubim and seraphim in the heavens, not down here fornicating like mere beasts in the fields. What's wrong with you? My God, you need to meditate or read more books to get these pesky desires out of your system, so that you can engage with the deeper process of being an enlightened human being like I, Uranus, am. So Uranus loves you because you are star stuff. It is disgusted by the stuff of you that is the mere mud and clay of the earth. It can be very confusing being on the receiving end of that Uranian love sometimes, because sometimes it can be very intense, very visionary, very poetic. It can be really quite profusive and effusive about all the divinities and celestial sparkling interstellar wonders that it sees protruding from you. And the moment you say, well, okay, honey, here I am, come and get me, Uranus suddenly runs bolting in the other direction, because you've taken something that he thought was divine and perfect and ideal, and you've made it too real, worldly. And yet the conjunction of Venus in Taurus conjunct Uranus, sorry, falling over my words there, is to try and find some kind of synthesis between those different realms, to find a love or a partnership that can be lofty and intellectual and idealistic and spiritually exalted, and yet also be tangible and grounded in material realities at the same time. A love where people can have this marvelous meeting of minds and go on astral spiritual quests together, and yet also, spoon in bed and go out and eat tacos together without that lessening the poetry of those exalted states that Uranus is after. But also because Uranus is seeing things on this different perspective and has this sense that all human beings deserve love as a basic moral principle, during that transit, if we do encounter potential lovers, we may find ourselves attracted to or suddenly embroiled with someone who is very different from our usual type. We feel open to sharing and experimenting, loving someone who is very different from what we would choose if we were merely being pulled by those reliable earthy senses that say this type of figure or outline or hair color or shape is my type and not that. Whereas Uranus goes, well, actually, there's a lot of stars out there, and it would be lovely to have the freedom to try to taste them all. So whereas, again, Venus in Taurus likes a stable, steady, reliable partnership with someone that, isn't going to go away, just as it doesn't want the food in its cupboards to suddenly go away, because it likes its sources of pleasure and beauty to be reliable. Venus conjunct Uranus values freedom more. It says there is so much love out there in the world that I could experience. And if I'm limiting myself just to being monogamous with you, there's a whole tapestry and palette of potential loves out there which could somehow fulfill and expand my inner and outer worlds. And yet, just because of this selfish earthly need for personal security, I'm denying myself that. Well, you know what? I'm not sure if I want to anymore. I'm not sure if I'm content with sticking with you, even through those moments of repetition and boredom, comforting though they may be on an animal level. I want something that is going to be like a thunderbolt smashing into my nervous system, which will explode me into new galaxies of personal revelation. And I'm not going to get there if I just stay snuggled up on the couch with you watching Gavin and Stacey every night. I need to go out into that wider world and see what else the cosmos has to offer. I'll build a damn rocket ship and fly to the stars and see, you know, if there's some aliens over there I can love, and maybe they'll have some new techniques of ecstasy or other forms of platonic love that we don't know about that could later expand my personal sense of being and make me a better, more elevated human being, you know? So there can be, whereas, like I said, Venus in Taurus is comfortable with those reliable, repetitious, routine sources of comfort and beauty, like sitting under a lovely tree in a park where you go every day and picking up your favorite book and reading it in bed while you eat the marmalade on toast that you have every day. Uranus feels restless, impatient, stifled with these things. These things feel like traps that are keeping it small, that are reducing it to a mere agglomeration of appetites. And that need for an interstellar quest can become so overpowering that we just want to break free of everything. We just want to cut off from all of those existing structures and relationships. And that includes sometimes our work as well, and just say, no, my freedom and my independence of spirit is more important than my personal security right now. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to leave those things behind. And I'm going to trust that the divine will lead me to something that will increase my wisdom and ability to comprehend a knowledge that is greater than my own. As you can imagine from those schisms of differing feelings, this can make for a rocky time in existing relationships, where suddenly those small differences can seem to catapult us into different universes of private meaning, in which it feels like we are galaxies apart from one another, that there is this glass wall between us that makes it hard to be truly close with someone else. You know, we feel the need to shake things up, to liven things up a bit, to bring new energy, to bring a thunderbolt of regeneration into something that is threatening to become stagnant and stale. And sometimes that's needed, you know. Relationships, like all routine things, can end up being rendered contemptuous by familiarity. They can be stifled by humdrum associations that have prevented us from seeing the divine in another person who's become part of the furniture. And, you know, introducing new things into that can help to revive a relationship that might be flagging or ailing. But some people might feel, you know, even if those changes were made, this relationship still isn't enough for me, and I would rather chance it and find something else. And that can also apply to disruptions and sudden changes in our home lives, which might also suddenly feel like they are falling out from beneath our feet and leaving only the heavens below to catch us. But also in our work situations, where, if again that's felt too constraining, too limiting, too divorced from our principles, if we feel that we have more to give than that job is giving us, even if we are getting some kind of financial stability from it, we might say, no, I would rather be self-employed. I would rather chance it doing something that I really loved, which I really feel was giving back to the world on a bigger scale, than just carrying on working at a supermarket because it's a reliable paycheck. I need to take a chance. And again, you know, with people who aren't in existing relationships, who are single, it can make us meet someone who's very different from our usual type and just say, well, why not try it? Because Uranus is very philosophical, and it might say that even if this doesn't last, even if it doesn't lead to marriage further down the line, or even if it just doesn't work altogether, I still tried something. It still taught me something new about myself and the human experience. And doesn't that make it beautiful? Does everything have to be tied down by material turpitude? Can't it just be enough that we've allowed ourselves to commit to the divine playtime in all these multifarious ways in which God is playing with his or herself? It's nice to play with yourself. Anyway, with this aspect, it's always best to expect the unexpected and to allow yourself to flow along with those tumults of change rather than stubbornly resisting them regressively, as Taurus can be wont to do. I hope you all enjoy this seismic conjunction, and that you will let me know what divine wonders or chaos and earthquakes it has brought into your existence under its bizarre auspices. If you want to get in touch with me for spiritual astrological counseling, my email is below. You can follow me on Instagram with the link down there as well. You can support me on Patreon if you want to be Uranian and principled and a boon to budding transgender astrologers everywhere. And yes, I enjoyed that. Hope you did too. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I will be bringing you more content as the stars carry on ineluctably in